Shootout near the White House in the US. What we are learning is that two National Guard members were shot at. This is two National Guard members who are currently in critical condition and they are receiving treatment. The shootout suspect is an Afghan national, is what we are learning. The suspect is Ramanathullah Lakhanwala, who has now been detained, is what we are learning. The FBI is currently probing the shootout as an act of terror. The probe has come out to reveal so far that the suspect, Rahamanullah, entered US in the 2021. So it has been a few years that he has been in the United States itself. Trump has also come out to condemn the shootout near the White House. The president, Donald Trump, has come out to say the animal who shot at the National Guards have been wounded. The accused will pay a very steep price. This is what we are learning at this very point, at the very top of this hour. This is a very serious case that's come in at this given point of time. Rahamanullah Lakhanwala, who was in America, who came to America in the year 2021, has shot at two National Guards who were in fact patrolling the very area near the White House. These are people who were assigned to the security patrolling the Joint Task Force in DC, that is the guard operations in the Capitol. That's what we are learning at this given point. Remember, this person has also been apprehended. The FBI has come out to say that they have taken up the case and they will be probing into who this person is, if this person has any ties to any particular organization, terror outfit that is. But for now, we are only getting information on this very individual, Rahamanullah Lakhanwala, who has been detained. He was also shot at during the entire exchange that took place between the police and this person at this point. Now we have reactions coming in from the United States to in fact understand what exactly happened before we proceed.
Before we get started, on a somber note, we had, and some of you may have seen this on your phones or on social media, but apparently there was a shooting outside the White House just a couple of hours ago. And we're still learning everything. We still don't know the motive. There's a lot that we haven't yet figured out. But what we do know is that a couple of National Guardsmen were injured in the line of duty. And first of all, I want everybody who's a person of faith to say a prayer for those two National Guardsmen, that they're able to spend Thanksgiving with their families instead of losing their lives, because I understand they're still in pretty tough condition. But I think it's a somber reminder that soldiers, whether they're active duty, reserve, or National Guard, our soldiers are the sword and the shield of the United States of America. And as a person who goes into work every single day in that building and knows that there are a lot of people who wear the uniform of the United States Army, let me just say very personally, thank them for what they're doing. We're grateful to them, and we're praying that they're going to be safe and they're going to spend Thanksgiving with their families. God bless them.
Two of our brave members of the National Guard and the Department of War were brazenly attacked in a horrendous act of violence. They were shot. They're in critical condition. As you can see behind me, we have assembled the full force of both the federal and state and local law enforcement agencies to bring bear all of our resources to make sure we find the perpetrators responsible for this heinous act. And make no mistake, they will be brought to justice. Since this is an assault on a federal law enforcement officer, this will be treated at the federal level as an assault on a federal law enforcement officer. The FBI will lead out on that mission with our interagency partners, to include the Department of Homeland Security, Secret Service, ATF, DEA. And we're thankful for the mayor's assistance in this matter, the Metropolitan Police Department and their skills in investigating homicides and gun shootings in this city is exceptional. We will work together collaboratively because this is a matter of national security, because it's a matter of pride. President Trump has been informed. We've been in contact with the White House. We will shortchange the American public with no resources to make sure we find and safeguard our nation's capital right here in Washington, D.C., and bring anyone responsible for this heinous act of violence to justice.
The shooter shot in a cowardly, dastardly act targeting the best of America, heroes willing to serve in Washington, D.C., serve for people they don't know and they've never met. We will never back down. We will secure our capital. We will secure our cities. In fact, this happened just steps away from the White House. It will not stand. And that's why President Trump has asked me, and I will ask the Secretary of the Army, to the National Guard, to add 500 additional troops, National Guardsmen, to Washington, D.C. This will only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we make Washington, D.C. safe and beautiful. The drop in crime has been historic.
So viewers, at this point, we are being joined by our colleague Rohit Sharma, who will in fact take us through some more details of this very attack. Rohit, a very good morning to you. Give us the details of what exactly happened there, because we are also learning that the shooter has been apprehended. Tell us what exactly went down in those very few minutes.
Well, today in the afternoon, around 2:15 p.m., and this is the day before Thanksgiving in America, so not a lot of people were around in DC. People usually have travel plans, but around 2:15 p.m., this individual, who's now been identified as a 29-year-old Afghan immigrant, Rahamanullah Lakhanwala, he essentially was 2 blocks away from the White House at Farragut West Metro stop, and he opened fire and it basically, injured two National Guard who have been in Washington, D.C. since January. Now, one also has to understand that this was a pre-planned attack. He waited for this targeted attack, is what the authorities are calling it right now, that he waited for this individual, two of these National Guards. One, we are being told now, is a female. And he had 4 rounds, and he shot one in the chest. And then the other one, he was able to shoot them in the head. And he tried to escape after that. And then he was obviously apprehended by National Guard and the Metropolitan Police Department of DC. And everybody got involved. And the White House was cordoned off. People around White House, there are so many federal buildings, they were all sealed. People working in those federal buildings were asked to shelter in place. And then once this guy was apprehended, we learned that he also was transported to a local hospital here in Washington, D.C. So, as the other two National Guards who were all both battling for their life in intensive care.
But what we're learning at this given point, if we look at the current situation, attacks of such kinds, assassination attempts targeting political heads and in general, has spiked up in the United States. While the government keeps the focus on matters like immigration, and yes, that plays an important part in this very attack, what actually is being done on the ground to ensure that such attacks don't rise and consistently take place?
Well, look, unfortunate reality of America is, people have a very biased opinion about gun and owning guns, and Second Amendment grants every U.S. citizen to be able to get a gun. And in some states, even if you're a legal permanent resident, you can. So, that's one aspect that has been debated for years in America. And unfortunately, because of that, it allows people, who are not mentally fit or people who have issues to be able to go and get these guns and take it out in public. And this is, again, it's a really unfortunate incident. I mean, these two National Guards are from West Virginia. President Trump wanted to clean up Washington, D.C., and this is exactly why he got those National Guards to come and station and work in D.C. In fact, just yesterday, President Trump in his speech talked about how he's cleaned up Washington, D.C., and we haven't had a single murder in the last 6 months. But today, somebody, walks in literally like 2 blocks away, like 300 meters away from Washington, D.C., with a gun and unfortunately shoots these National Guard. So I think America as a society, we need to have that conversation sooner, or should have had years ago, I should say. But somebody will have to do that. But I'm afraid I think nobody would talk about that. I think people will probably talk more on the lines of who this individual is, how did he get into America, was he here on an expired visa, and all that stuff. And the gun violence piece will probably take a backseat again.
So at this point, the more the government goes away from the conversation around gun violence in America, are Americans more at risk then, given that such attacks, this is an attack at the two National Guards that we are speaking of?
It always has been. Frankly, a very senior leader once said in a private setting, and we were talking gun violence, and he said, if there's a kid who has a stick, and if he starts hitting everybody with the stick, who do you blame? The stick or this kid, right? And his logic being, the guns are ending in the wrong hands. So we should look at the people acquiring these guns rather than coming up with a gun law. So I think, this is overdue conversation. I think people understand, that America, the Constitution grants everybody to own guns, but some kind of reform, I think common sense reform is overdue. But as you've said, I think it's going to become more about this individual rather than how he was able to get this gun and carry out this attack.
Absolutely, Rohit. And that's where the conversation comes in about who this very shooter is and whether this was individually planned or is the shooter associated with some group. We're learning about his origin at this point, the fact that he came into America in the year 2021. What more details is the FBI currently, or the investigative agency is currently picking up?
We do not know, but FBI is treating this as a terror act or act of terror initially to begin with. Foreign national from Afghan, entered America in 2021 under Operation Allies Welcome that was started by President Biden. So this individual entered America after American forces withdrew from Afghanistan. So I'm pretty sure they're looking at all the angles, who this individual is connected with. He was only 29 years old. And he is from the state of Washington in the West Coast. So I'm pretty sure they're going through all that they can and how this person landed in DC and what was the purpose of doing this. We were also told initially that he was not cooperating with the authorities, and when he was apprehended, he did not have any ID on him. So it seems like a very calculated move on Rahmanullah's part to be able to do this, knowing fully that he wanted to escape, A, by jumping on the metro, which was such a, I wouldn't say that was a plan. B, making sure that he does not get caught or ID'd initially to make lives difficult of FBI and other agencies who are investigating this. But be assured, if there are other people involved, the US authorities will get to them.